Can you just give a brief description so people who do not understand what net zero is?
There's a thing called plant food, which is called CO2. Plants breathe in CO2. The world needs CO2. The initial part of CO2 is quite important for the warming of the earth. After a certain part, adding the CO2 has no effect. I'm really shortening this. It has no effect at all. But if you can make CO2 toxic, if you can make something that is essential to life, you're made of it, so am I. All higher forms of life are made of it. You know, I mean, there's a few microbes under the sea living off sulfur vents and things, maybe not. But basically, if it drops below a certain level, all life on Earth goes. Yes? They've made it toxic. Now, if they can do that, and then they even use children, like Greta, who, when she's interviewed in Congress, or I don't know, the Senate or Congress hearing, said, when asked what's the science behind you saying, you know, panic alarm, she said, oh, there's no science. I don't know, don't refer to any science. No, don't use that. Oh, what do you mean by panic? Oh, that's just a metaphor. I don't mean to panic. Yeah, I do that clip on my videos because people don't understand how hypocritical these people are. So they use CO2. Now, CO2 is rising like hell because it comes out of petrol, comes out of diesel, comes out of coal, comes out of cement, comes out of almost anything you do, yes, in modern life. We wouldn't have modern life. Now, without oil, we wouldn't have the chair you're sitting on, right? You wouldn't have the watch, you wouldn't have your coat, you wouldn't have your jeans, you wouldn't have the cameras videoing us now. You wouldn't have anything. It really would be back to medieval times without oil. It really would. Even to make penicillin, you need an oil derivative in part of the process, you know? So it's saying do away and stop oil. I'm very proud I had a stop oil character arrested, by the way. That's another story.
Tried to hit you, right?
Pardon?
Tried to hit you.
No, he didn't. He picked up a table, or you know, one of these stressful tables, and threw it in the air. It was fully loaded, without any concern for anyone. And he was the one who painted the painting, I understand, in London. Anyway, he got 10 months suspended, a criminal record, and 100 quid fine. So he can't do any other stop oil stuff unless he's very careful, because he gets done for both then, he goes to jail. So I won't tolerate people doing this. I'm totally non-violent. I'm happy to debate with anybody, you know, openly, right? So what they're doing is using it as a control mechanism. So the 15-minute city means that instead of you divide a city like a cake into slices, yeah, and you want to go, this grandmother, and it's a natural case, wants to go 3 miles to pick up her granddaughter from home, take her to school, later on in the day, go to pick her up from school, take her home. Family arrangement happens millions of times in Britain. We all cooperate together in the family, look after children. Yes? Yep. Now, under the new Oxford scheme, would have to.
This is Oxford's the trial city that they're using for this.
Yeah. This shall be everywhere though if they got away. So on the 15-minute city, if anyone leaves home with a car out their sector more than 100 times a year, there's a £100 fine. So you've got to learn to work from home, which is very difficult for an electrician. But don't worry, under their plans, everything you need inside that sector will be there. So apparently the British Museum will be there. Everything will have a hockey ring, a hockey stick, you know, thing. Everyone will have a tempo bowling alley, whatever you call them. Everyone will have all these things, all within 15 minutes.
So basically what they're saying, and this has been trialled in Oxford, but there's dozens of cities that have signed up already. 100 cities that have signed up for these 15-minute cities. So their idea is that everything the people in that 15-minute zone will need is going to be within 15 minutes. And the reason they're justifying that is to save the planet. CO2.
Correct.
To stop CO2.
Correct.
Is that the reason they're trying to do this? Or is this just total control over?
It's total control. The reason is total control. The control comes in every form.
And if you want to leave the 15-minute city, you pay a £100 fine.
In Wales, our children in school are being fed insects now. Yes, and so on. They're going to control what you eat. They control, you know, how much meat you can buy or not buy, and so on and so on and so on. It's complete control. By using the CO2 excuse of your entire life. You're slightly worse off, I think, than a battery chicken, actually, under this. And it can't work. It can't work. And on top of this, they've got a scheme called green energy, which is totally ungreen. You couldn't get less green, which is so costly, and they lie to you. They say it's cheap green energy. It isn't. Now, let me explain something. Our society evolved. If you go back hundreds of years in medieval times, we had a village. And in that village, you had specialisation. You had a blacksmith. So he was the one who did that. Not everyone could do that. You had a baker, maybe, and he could do that. But as we built up and became more sophisticated in society, our specialisations are wider. So you don't have an aeroplane built in every village. You don't have a car built. And so the whole idea is this specialisation, which is why we're so wealthy as countries now in the Western societies compared to what we were hundreds of years ago. And the engine for that is fossil fuel. And now, if you go back to what we call the Leadites in Lancashire, where they found they could power the machines by steam and one person could do the job of 50, the Leadites objected to that and burnt machines and everything. They were wrong, because efficiency, and that's what robots can do. Efficiency means there's more money for everyone. And all you have to do as society is understand how that's distributed. It isn't doing away with the job as such. It's actually doing, one person can now do the job of 50, which means that a lot of people can have a lot more of that product. It's a cheaper product, so everyone can have it. Yes? When I was a kid, a car was an undreamt of thing. No one had a car, yeah? And that's 1940s, 1945, so I was conscious of it by 1950. The only person that had a car in the whole area was the doctor, yeah? But now these days, it's normal to have a car or two cars. So that's caused by specialisation. It's the opposite. It's actually it's extreme communism is the only way to describe it. And they can't face up to the debate. So they don't allow the debate. So they class me as a Holocaust, they use a word like Holocaust denier. I'm classed as a climate denier, right? It's them that are denying the climate. I'm saying there was a medieval warm period, a Roman warm period. There was the Little Ice Age, right? They're saying there wasn't all these things really, yes? They have emails between them. Let's get rid of the medieval warm period. That's not a scientist. That's someone with an agenda, yeah? And so it's all about control. And net zero is not possible. It's just not possible.
What does net zero mean?
It means on balance, the whole society will not produce any excess CO2 at all.
Because we've got a net zero target by 2050, is it?
Yeah, everyone has. You know,
everyone, all of Europe. Well, not everyone.
No, I know.
China? India?
No. Oh, no.
These countries don't have to hit the net zero.
No, I mean Western countries with all these stupid leaders have. The idea of net zero is we're carbon neutral by 2050. So I'll give you a great scheme. Here's a great scheme. Let's burn trees. Which, when you burn a tree, it gives off a lot of CO2, yeah? So what we do, but trees grow, and when they're growing, they absorb CO2. So in the natural course of events in a forest, a tree will grow. It'll absorb CO2. One day it has to die. I've got news for you. Everything has to die eventually. Every living thing has to die. And normally they die with a fire, by the way, naturally, forests. But they die, so it's neutral. So what we do is we have a coal power station called Drax in the northeast, yes? A coal power station called Drax. And that power station burns 37,000 tonnes of wood pellets a day. And those pellets come from America and Canada. So they go over there and you actually have huge machines, as big as this house sort of thing, huge machines cutting the trees down, moving and all this. You have office buildings to manage all the workers and everything. All that gets taken by huge trucks to a pelletizing plant where you use heat, fossil fuel heat, and things, and chop them up into little pellets, make the pellets. You put them on a train, chug across America, fossil fuel again. And then you get to the boat. I don't know if people know this, but boats to run them, they use very cheap, heavy, treacle-like diesel. To start them, they use diesel we would know. Yeah? But once they're going, they use really cheap, dirty diesel. So that goes all the way across the Atlantic, around the northeast, goes on another train, chug to the plant, and they burn it. Yeah. Now, there used to be the coal. Now, you need a lot more wood. You need twice as much wood as you need coal, because it's less dense. So the same energy, you need twice as much. Yes. So everything is doubled anyway on all that. The coal was 2 miles away, would come by train into the plant and be burnt. That was it. Yeah. Now we've got all this going on, and it doesn't make sense. 500 scientists, when this was going on, wrote to the government and said, even on the alarmist side, this is stupid. But no, we burn 37,000 tonnes a day. Now, this week, they're running out, I think in the next year or so, they're running out of their subsidy, because we subsidise this plant by almost £700 million a year. So you see, there's a tax we're paying, yeah, that you don't see on the green bill. It's a tax, so you're paying it. And they're also now got a new £2 billion, that's £2,000 million scheme to bury the CO2. So the idea is where we've taken stuff out the ground, like coal or whatever it is, or oil, we now put the CO2 back and bury it because it's toxic, this CO2, which it isn't, right? So
is this just another tax?
well, it's £2 billion added.